Okay, hello beautiful people, it's Davina from London Curls. Today I've got quite a few things I want to do. It's basically going to be a life update video. I think if you follow my Instagram or you regularly go onto my blog, you'd be more aware. A lot's happened recently and positivity is key. So I mean, I'm going to give you a life update. I'm going to have to give thanks to many people because many people have really helped me. In giving the life update, I'm going to be talking about how to cope with grief. Today is Mental Health Day, so I'm just going to talk about my experience of depression and how I keep going, because depression isn't necessarily something that you get over. I think if you suffer from depression, often it's something that you'll be dealing with for your whole life, but I'll explain how I managed to pull myself through it. And then of course, I know you're all waiting for this, but I'm going to reveal the winner of the competition. I've been kind of dreading talking about this because I am feeling pretty emotional today. But if you weren't aware, I lost my granddad about a week and a half ago. He had a heart attack and it has been horrible. It's my makeup. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna look a bit of a mess. I'm not the prettiest of guys. Sorry. So my granddad brought me up. Like, I lived with him and so on. And he was just, anyone that knew him would know, he was just the most loving, caring, just hilarious man. He did everything for me growing up. He took me on as like a daughter. Did everything, because it was difficult. Obviously my mum's disabled, so he did everything for me. And he was just a hilarious guy. He was just so full of life and funny, and he's so deeply missed in my family. Oh. I mean, I've got a few pictures of him, but I mean, even from when I was a child, he was just always he'd be there for me constantly, every day, every single day, and he was just everything. It all came as a massive shock, but I just felt surrounded by people, like my best friend was there. He came to the hospital and he was crying just as much as me, but anyone that's been in contact with him knows what he was like. My ex-boyfriend, like, we've been close, like we were together for 3 years, and he's still such a massive part of my life, and he was there and he stayed and he looked after me for 2 days, because for 2 days I was just not okay. Like, I have never sunk into such a dark place. Like, I couldn't function. I really couldn't. If he hadn't have stayed and looked after me, I don't know what would have happened. Like, my body just shut down. Like, if I didn't have the people surrounding me, like physically surrounding me, on the 2 days that followed, and the few days actually that followed, and people reaching out and speaking to me, I would have I don't know how, I wouldn't be able to function right now. Oh my god, my makeup's a mess. I just want to say a massive thank you, first of all, now to the people that have been there, that have gone above and beyond. Like, I went round to my friend's house and her family knew my granddad as well, and they gave me like flowers and they fed me, because I love to eat normally, but one thing, when I am depressed, I'm not the sort of person that like eats a lot. When I'm depressed, I don't eat. So they gave me lilies and they sat me down and they gave me food, and they were like, you eat this, because normally you're the one that's hoovering up the food at the end of the meal. Like, I'll have seconds. If there's food, I'll have seconds. So they gave me food, they gave me these beautiful lilies. I had roses from the people from work. I had countless cards, and even just different companies that have reached out, like on my Facebook, on my Instagram, just the amount of people that have reached out. Some old friends I haven't spoken to in years, like one of my friends, Mikey, so he sent me the most beautiful just voice note. I'll play you a snippet of it.
I feel lost. I'm sorry to hear that, but I just want to make sure, like, when we was talking last time, we was talking it, you remember to like celebrate your granddad's life and don't mourn his death. Live a long and happy life. Just, you gotta remember that he's always gonna be with you now and forever. So I don't think you might have lost him in a physical form, He's always
I can't
spiritual.
I can't listen to all of that because I'll end up like weeping again. So I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to all of you just for being so supportive. All of the comments, the people just getting in touch, like I could not be more grateful, because that's one thing, when you're at your lowest you can feel completely alone. You can feel like you're the only person in the world that's experiencing it, and you are the only person experiencing your experience, because grief is such a personal thing, but it also helps to know that other people have experienced it. People have been as low as you have been but have overcome. I think I've written a blog post which I encourage, if you are going through grief, or even if you know someone that's going through grief, just to read it. It's just, the thing that you need to understand is grief, people grieve in different ways. This is important for people to understand that aren't going through grief as well, because I think it's very quick to judge other people and just say, why are you grieving in that way? Like I had 2 friends reach out to me, and I talk about this in the blog post, of 2 friends in particular that said to me, you need to take a break from social media, I think you need to. Now they did this out of love, obviously they told me to do this out of love. However, I took a week out and I really embraced the grief, and I felt like dying. I felt like an absolute mess. But after that I realised, like, I enjoy doing my blog. I find it difficult to be lazy. I'm the sort of person that struggles to have a lie-in. Like I will wake up at 6 o'clock every morning without an alarm, and even on the weekend I'll sit there. If I go for a sleepover or I'll stay around someone's house, I'll just be sitting there like until they wake up at like 11. I find it impossible to lie in. Like, to keep myself going, I need to do something. Do you see what I'm saying? And I know that it helps me to heal, to be able to talk about my experiences. Some people don't want to talk, and that's something that you need to understand if you're helping someone with grief as well. But me personally, I needed to do something that I enjoy to help, and that is through me helping other people through my experiences. I've always wanted to help people. Now, on top of that, I needed to find other things to keep me going, and it's about just doing things. Like, you shouldn't feel upset or ashamed about smiling or being happy. Now, especially for my granddad, who was just the funniest guy, he would hate to see me in tears. He'd absolutely hate it, and he hated it when, So I have to try my best not to cry. I do try it, and I try and not feel guilty about smiling. Like, the things that I do when I get home, the thing is, my experience of this grief is slightly different to other people as well, because like I can't, it's a horrible situation to be in, but I can't fully go into myself and experience the grief too much, because my grandmother, has terminal cancer as well. So every day it's like dragging myself out of bed, forcing a smile on my face so that I can go to the hospital for however many hours and sit with her and try and keep her positive. And it's difficult to try and remain positive when you feel so low, like, but it's something that I have to do. So I haven't been able to completely like break down like I'm sure I would have done in a different situation. But in saying that, there are different ways that I've tried to remain positive, and what I've found is just looking after myself. Like, I went to a Lush event and I got this huge box full of bath bombs. So every single day I'll just dip in and I'll just take out a random bath. There's 20 bath bombs in here, like I'm having a lot of baths, but like I'll dip in, I'll just take out a bath bomb, and I just allow myself to completely relax, just shut off, relax in a bath, pamper myself. Regular face masks, this has been amazing. So I've been using the cranberry face mask, and I'll just again just relax. With the glow box, I also got like another face mask that smells like chocolate, which I'm going to use straight after I film this. So I mean, just taking time to relax. On top of that, I'm reading, so I'm absolutely loving this. Couldn't have come at a better time for me. I mean, Eat, Pray, Love, I'd watched the film, hadn't thought much of the film, but I feel like this is exactly what I needed, and it's just confirmed that at some point soon I need to go travelling. I just need to just live and reflect. I've been watching Only Fools and Horses, which is my granddad's favourite programme, which is hilarious, and it just reminds me of him. I feel comforted by it. But you shouldn't feel upset about doing things you enjoy. Like at university, I had a really bad bout of depression, like incredibly bad, to the point where my attendance in second year of university dropped down to about it was between 10 and 30% of times. I couldn't go into uni, I couldn't face it. And I, like my ex-boyfriend, and this is one of the reasons why we are still so close, it's horrible for me to even admit it, but he was more of a carer to me for that year. I would go to his house, his flat that he was living in, and I would just cry. I'd spend the whole day in bed weeping, unable to do anything. I'm sure his flatmates must have been like, I was given antidepressants. Me personally, my experiences, antidepressants I didn't enjoy having antidepressants. It helped, but I ended up feeling numbed from the antidepressants. But what I found was keeping busy and doing things that I enjoy or things I find important helped me. That's what I needed to do. Like, I need to keep myself going, otherwise. And that might mean that I'm not actually fully embracing or dealing with my depression, but I can't be that person. I can't allow myself right now as well to get back to that place. It's very easy to feel judged. People are like, well, why aren't you more happy? Or you can never please everyone. People seem to judge things a lot, and you need to just, if you're going through grief, zone out, like block it out. You are dealing with something, you're going through one of the hardest experiences of your life. You don't need to take on anyone else's expectations on how you're supposed to react and how you're supposed to behave. Like, that isn't your concern. There's so many cultures, I know, especially in like African cultures, it's almost like there's a massive stigma around mental health, to the point where people won't talk about it and they try and act like everything's okay, when it's like, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to say, actually, I'm not coping well. Do you know what I mean? Unfortunately, when you're going through depression, you can be mean to people, and people don't understand because they don't see depression as a real thing. It's like, because you can't see it, because it's not an illness that you can see, people then just assume that you're just a mean person. With grief, you get a bit of a pass because people know what you're going through. It's not a personal thing. Don't take it as a personal attack if you're the person that you care about who's going through this at times is quite blunt with you, or it seems to be expecting too much from you. But it's almost like you can't really control. It's difficult to get through your own emotions. It's difficult to even think sometimes about other people's emotions around you, and so there's a lot of expectation. I know for me, for example, because I have looked after my family for so long, and it's always been a case where I have had to help my family, I find that people that have said to me, I'll be there, like, if you need anything, I'll be there. And once I've reached out to that person like one time and they're like, oh, actually I can't do it today, I find it impossible. Like, my pride steps in and I'm like, I'm not reaching out to that person again. Like, I can't, I'm not doing it, because I feel vulnerable reaching out and asking for help. And then when I feel like that isn't reciprocated, or people don't make the effort, I find it really hard to ask for help again from that person. So if you're helping someone that's coping with grief, pick up the phone. A message means a lot, but you need to understand, especially if the person that you're dealing with is like me, they might not want to reach out, and they might feel lonely as hell, and it might be that they're pushing everyone away, but still be there. Still reach out to them, whether it's a message, whether it's a phone call, just check up on them. Like, saying I'll be there whenever, it's almost like it's not enough. You need to kind of help that person through and just say, I will be there. Like, what's going on? How are you? Have you eaten today? Have you done that? Like, just be there for that person, okay? So I think it's so simple. It's so easy to say I'll be there for whatever, but you kind of need to manage people's expectations. If you're going to not actually be there, if you're saying that just for the sake of saying it and you're not actually going to be there for whatever, then don't say it. Like, just try and reach out and be there for people. The few things that I want you to take from this is, first of all, how incredibly grateful I am to you, and of course one person in particular is going to be getting the box, which I'm going to explain in a minute. In coping with grief, do you just whatever you feel like you need to do, as long as it's not self-destructive. And I hope to God none of you go down a path of feeling suicidal, or you don't feel like hurting yourself. Like, I understand those feelings, I genuinely do, but you've got to kind of stop that voice in your head that's saying that. But do, other than self-destructive things, do what you need to do to function and get through this, okay? Like, do what you need to do. Don't feel like you need to meet anyone's expectations about how you're handling your own grief. Like, this is a very personal journey that you need to get through yourself. So if you want to keep busy, if you can't cry, or if you just spend all day in a curled up in a ball crying, embrace it and do what you feel like is best, okay? And don't feel like you have to meet anyone's expectations. In regards to mental health, it is Mental Health Week. To understand that mental health is not a stigma. It's not something that you should feel like you should alienate people from, or you can't be around people with mental health issues. It's just about understanding. So take the time to understand what the people around you are going through, and just try and show understanding of that. And if you've got suffer from mental health issues, just understand that other people have experienced it too. Seek help, as in talk to people, like try not to shut other people out, and do research on it. Obviously don't self-diagnose yourself online. You can talk to doctors and so on. Don't feel forced into taking medication for it, because I think I felt kind of like I started to feel like a burden on people, and that's one thing that I've got a real bad habit of doing. I feel like a burden. So I felt like, because I was talking to my doctor so much, that when they suggested that I take antidepressants, I was like, okay, I will, because I just felt like, I can't keep talking to you about this. You clearly have other stuff to do. Don't feel forced, but just do what you know feels right. And finally, is my final massive thank you to all of you. And the winner is Fat Girl Diaries. And just a massive thank you to all of you. I'm sorry I've been rambling. It probably doesn't make much sense. It's just been me like blah 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 blah, blah with not much structure. But I just want you to know that I'm really grateful. And if you need any support with coping with grief, I've got the information there. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, see you later. Bye.